Hi everyone, my name is Melody Ball. I am absolutely delighted to be asked to speak about who I am, my artwork, and some of the processes behind some of my pieces. My background is, and I can truly boast that I think this is quite unique. I am a daughter to a Taiwanese mother and an English white father. I was born in Taiwan, where they speak Mandarin Chinese as their official language, and then I subsequently moved to the UK down in the southeast of England in Surrey, where it is an affluent area with over 1 million residents, known for its rural and leafy areas, stunning hilltops, castles, and a world-class golf course. How does this impact how I see the world and create art? Well, I like to start actually with the story of how my parents met. So they met in the 90s, and back then, mixed race couples were simply not that common. They actually met because they both chose the vocation as Christian missionaries, both coming from very atheist or Chinese Taoist family backgrounds. They brought myself and my two brothers to Sunday church services, but honestly, it wasn't until I was around 14 years old that I decided to label myself as a Christian. And then I can admit that I didn't experience the Holy Spirit until I was 16 years old. And my faith as a Christian now definitely inspires me to create art, which I want viewers to look at and feel encouraged to pray and find God for themselves. Did my upbringing prompt a specific reference point within my work? I do actually have a piece. It's called Reigate High Street. It's dedicated, as the names would suggest, to a high street in my hometown. I always marveled how peaceful and safe I felt walking down at night time. Growing up, especially as a mixed race petite woman, in the late evenings after 9 p.m., whether that was a late night out as a teenager or now as a adult woman commuting late from work and from the office in London. At the time of painting that particular piece, I was in my GCSE years, so 14 to 15 years old, and I just thought the colours bouncing from the streetlights at the time looked really, really cool, as you would as a teenager, or the wet pavements. Is my work informed by certain concepts or themes from my childhood background, socioeconomic status, and where I lived or were raised? That's a good question, but I think it would be hard not to have your artwork not be influenced by all those things. I think it's that whole nature versus nurture debate. I think we are the sum of all the things we experience, we consume, or are exposed to. It's just inevitable. There's a saying that, like a fish swimming in its waters or in the sea, it can't see the water. So I think just like the culture that we are in and we live in, it's not as measurable or tangible, but we can feel it, and we experience it, and we do get influenced by it. I think that's just how it is. Who are my biggest influences? I think in terms of artists, I've always, since I studied throughout school, I've always found myself gravitated towards particularly Van Gogh. So you see some of the styles of my paintings is similar. I've had friends and families comment it's quite similar to his style, and I think it's because it's down to how much I admired him growing up, the way he commanded color, and how with his sad life story he transformed his tormented pain into ecstatic beauty. It's just something really psychedelic and beautiful about the way he brushes the strokes, and I think he definitely influenced greatly a lot on my work. in that style that I have now. What am I focusing on right now? I think right now I've actually been commissioned to create greeting cards for Easter. So Easter's coming up towards the beginning of April. As Christians, we do have a habit of celebrating Christmas really, really well. And I think because it's everywhere, the whole world celebrates it with you. It's part of secular culture. It's cool. But Easter is an odd one because in actuality, it's one of our biggest biblical events where, it tells the story. The Easter story tells the story of how a group of people witnessed Jesus alive. I think it says about more than 500 people witnessed Jesus being alive after his death on a brutal Roman torture execution on a crucifix. So, yeah, it's that's what I'm working on. So do have a look out for that. It'll be on my Etsy shop shortly soon. The biggest challenge of being an artist, I think ultimately what I find really common is that it's quite it's quite a shame, but it's very common. Many artists that I've had the privilege of meeting and gets to know, we all seem to lack confidence or self-belief at times, which can hold us back from creating artwork. And I'm being aware of that, that's, I guess, slip up sometimes. We just have to keep reminding ourselves that we just have to keep creating despite how we feel and despite our sometimes lack of confidence. It's a marvel really that we can create, and that everything that we do is unique in its time. So just whoever you are, whether or not you feel you are a creative, just give it a go, keep creating. No one can replace who you are, and everything is still a good thing. Whether or not you find it pleasing, someone else may come along and look at it and really connect with it. So yeah, I think that's a challenge, but I think it's also human nature. We seem to be much more critical of ourselves than we are of others, so just trust the process and go for it. What advice would I give to my younger self? In one word, honestly, boundaries. I really lacked boundaries growing up, but I think I was quite late to the therapy bandwagon. It wasn't until my late 20s before I took therapy during the pandemic. So that's really, as a child of now divorced parents, it's really helped me to process my fears, unmet childhood needs, and come to peace with my past, which I can't change, but now I can move forward with renewed hope that I can build a better life, or just a life free from my past. So for anyone out there who really struggles maybe with a mindset or with something that really, I don't know, just any life event really that's been uncomfortable, I really recommend it. It was such a help for me personally in terms of my growth, and I just had wished that I had access to those resources as a teenager or just even as a child growing up, just to have someone to talk to and to process all those things. So yeah, if I could go back in time, I would tell my younger self that therapy is nothing to be ashamed of. It's actually such a powerful and useful tool, and you gain these invaluable counseling skills yourself just by seeing how, it's just really, really cool. Have I ever tried anything unconventional in terms of techniques or mediums? I think the most fun one I did was probably making dots with my fingerprints. It was to make this piece called Praying for This Nation. I did that during a worship music live band with about 7,000 to 8,000 voices singing spontaneously at this David's Tent event. It happens every year, so do have a Google later if you're interested. It's called David's Tent, and they do it every year. It's 24 hours for a few days of worship music. So yes, to your other question, do I listen to music or have any type of background noise? I tend to listen to really happy, upbeat music or worship music to really inspire me to be connected to God. Best reaction someone had to my work. I would say, and I think there was this one memory I have of someone who once cried when I told them that they could have one of my artwork for free. I don't always do this, but in this instant, did feel prompted by the Holy Spirit to give it away for free. It was the small acrylic painting of a sunset casted over a calm water surface. And yeah, I really always appreciate it when someone just shares with me how much they've really, really love a painting that I've done, or just a drawing. It's just really, I always feel really, really touched. What do I hope people take away from my artwork? I think just anything. At the end of the day, you just want them to have a reaction. And if they feel confused or interest or piqued or wonder, excitement, I just hope that you can take something away, whatever it is, even if it's just a trigger or a prompt or a reminder of a memory or a feeling. Then that's why I do it. I want to connect with someone else through my work, so anything really. And yeah, just thank you so much for your time and listening to this, allowing me to share with you my work. My social media handle is Melody Ball Art. Melody like song, ball like football, and and art like dance, so that's Melody Ball Art. And I will be planning my first ever exhibition this year, so do have a look out for those details when they're released. And that's it. Thank you.